presentation of price. What does
Yeah.
good look like?
Okay. What good looks like is a
No, what's
conversation.
exceptional?
Okay. What's exceptional is having a real dialogue, a real conversation.
Right.
Telling isn't selling. We know all these cliches, but they're cliches for a reason. What good looks like is this. Okay, we'll just do a bit of role play.
Yeah.
Is that all right? Okay. So, Mr. Smith, recently this property, which I think you'll agree is very similar to yours.
Yes, it is.
That sold.
Taken in the snow, that one.
Of course it was, yeah. And you've got your snowman in there.
Excellent,
as well.
yes.
Yeah.
Mine's much better. No, sorry.
Of course it is. Of
They
course
hate
it
it
is.
when they say that. My house is much better than that.
Or the old classic, I had 2 extra plug points put in by the builder. And my house has got to be worth. Anyway, let's not go there. Okay, so you'll agree, Mr. Vendor, that this property is very similar to yours.
It is very similar to mine, yes.
And that property sold at 250,000. Okay. How do you think your property? Just have a look at that. How do you think your property compares to that?
So you've given me that piece of paper.
Yes.
Okay. Well, as you know, I've got two extra. No. Well, it's very similar, isn't it?
Yes.
This one's got a southeast garden.
Yes.
And mine's got a south garden.
Yes.
Does that make much of a difference?
What do you think yourself, Mr. Vendor? Do you think that someone's likely to pay more for your south-facing garden, a bit less, or about the same?
Well, again, we've just had our house, probably about the same.
Yeah.
This looks very nice inside. We've
Yes.
had some new carpets in the last 2 years.
Yes.
Do you think that would add a bit more money?
It might do. It might add more money. Have you heard of the phrase, a house is worth, excuse me, have you heard of the phrase, a house is worth?
What someone's prepared to pay for it?
Yeah. I just want to stop there. Can you see what happened there? Now what I'm able to do is, instead of me telling you that the house is worth what someone's prepared to pay because I say it, for the rest of this discussion, I'm now able to say, we've already agreed. In fact, you used the phrase, Mr. Vendor, a house is worth what someone's prepared to pay.
So just press applause here. Did you deliberately
Yes.
get me?
Yes.
So
That's why I
finished
coughed. Because people, in my experience, over 60%, it doesn't work every single time, but when I've been going out with my colleagues at Thomas Morris, I've been using that.
That's a blinder of a line.
But it's so credible and true, because you can then say, I'm not telling you this, you said, you used the words, probably not a good idea to
Okay,
point.
probably no.
But you used the phrase, a house is worth what someone's prepared to pay. And I totally agree with the phrase that you've used there. So what I'm saying is, make the presentation of price more conversational. Wherever it goes, make it a conversation.
Okay, if you haven't got a direct comparable, but you've got one that's obviously cheaper and one more expensive,
yeah.
you get them to say, well, that's obviously better than mine, that's obviously less
Yes,
than mine.
because it is a dialogue. I mean, if you do genuinely believe, as I do genuinely believe, that a house is worth what someone's prepared to pay, how on earth can you value a house anyway? What you want to have is a dialogue and a discussion, and try to avoid, so I've shown you what good looks like, this is what bad looks like. I've done the research, Mr. Smith, and your house is worth 250. There we go.
See, bye.
Yeah. That's not good, is it?
No.
Excuse
But
me.
many people do it that way.
Yeah, they do. Perhaps I've hammed it up a little bit there, but many
No, but they
people do
do.
that. But having a discussion. Now, the reason this is a challenge, in my personal view, for most valuers, is that there is a lot of stuff going on there. You've got to feel very confident. You're going to need to role play it. You're going to need to train it.
Finally, you talked about feature benefit analysis. What does good look like on that?
Okay. This was the most common area that I felt needed to be improved upon. What I found is that most of the time, our people who are so professional and so good at what they do are full of features, but they didn't make it relevant to the individual person by really emphasising the benefits.
Yeah, but that's just normal feature analysis benefits. Everyone could do that, can't they?
Well,
I've got an office network of 600, which means I'm going to get a lot more buyers.
Yes, okay.
Everyone does that.
Well,
don't they?
actually, I found not. And
Really?
I've even found, when I've had people observe me doing selling, I've found that I'm far too feature orientated and not enough benefit orientated.
Okay.
Because what tends to happen, you tend to remember the features, they get stuck into your brain. But of course, benefits for individual people are by definition quite different, and that takes some thinking about, takes some mental agility. And we tried a couple of techniques in our training, and I've seen our men and women out in the field implement those. What it looks like is this, in essence. It's a bit scary, but what you have to do is say whatever benefit you're going to put across. So let's say, for example, you mentioned the 600 offices. Let's say at Thomas Morris, we're members of Relocation Agent Network, which has over 600 offices throughout the UK. And then what I'm saying to people to do, which is a bit scary, is to just use the sentence then, even if you don't know what you're going to say, which means to you. And by using those words, which means to you, it doesn't half cause the brain to start
Yes, it does.
connecting up with those
Well, it's
circuits.
interesting because if you've done the right questioning skills, you would have
Yes,
found out what was
that's it.
important to them.
Yes.
So if it was a quick sale or a high price, in the features and benefits, you can
Yes.
actually say, we've got a network of 600 offices, and and what that means to you is
Yeah.
because you need to sell
That's
quickly.
it. Whatever it is. I find needing to sell quickly is a bit too generic. Stuff like that is, you need to make this as specific as possible. So let's say,
you need to sell quickly to get your kid into the school in Swaffham.
that's it. So if, for example, when we've been looking around, let's say one of the questions when the walk around has, it's emerged that these people are moving to Leeds because they're on a job move and they need to be there by December. What you can say is, Q feature, we're part of Relocation Agent Network, which means to you, at which point you've got to be thinking to yourself, what am I going to say now?
Yeah.
Which means to you that I can put you in direct contact with our colleagues, Manning Stainton, part of the Relocation Agent Network in Leeds, which will mean that you're much more likely to be able to find the property you want next to the school that you want by the time that you need it.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Is there any final thoughts on these intro and the 5 stages that you want to share with the world?
Oh,
But before you do that, I want to say thank you on
you're welcome.
behalf
Really enjoyed it.
of UK Estate Agency. You've given so much. But what do you want to say to the world?
What I want to say to the world, sounds a bit grand that, doesn't it? But what I want to say to the world of estate agency is, one of the things I learned very early on in my career was be vulnerable. Be vulnerable, be open-minded, be prepared to fail. And from those lessons of failure, that's where you're going to find the lessons for success.
And if anyone sees you, because you're always at the bloody awards, every Sunday awards,
Yeah.
you can guarantee you and Whaley turning up.
Yes.
It's guaranteed.
Yeah. Well, he normally goes to bed a bit later than me, but
Yes. He said that if he goes to bed at 5 in the morning, that's an early night for him.
Yeah.
Are you happy for people to approach you, even pick up the phone to you?
Yeah, happy to do that. I'm always happy to share ideas because I've learned what I've learned, and my fellow directors at Thomas Morris have learned a lot of stuff from a lot of very open and generous people.
Thank you, my friend.
No problem.